On my 40th birthday, my family revealed they sold the house I built with my own hands. But the gift I gave them before leaving shocked everyone. The envelope trembled in my hands as I stared at the bank statement inside. My dream house, the one I'd poured my heart and soul into designing and building from the ground up, had been sold without my knowledge, without my consent. And the worst part, the signatures at the bottom of the sale documents belonged to my own family. I'm Sonia, and this was supposed to be my 40th birthday celebration. The party decorations still hung mockingly around my father's living room, gold and silver streamers catching the late afternoon light. The cake sat half-eaten on the coffee table, its cheerful happy birthday message now feeling like a cruel joke. "It's for the best, sis," Mackenzie said, reaching for my hand. I pulled away before she could touch me. "Think about it. With this money, we can all have a fresh start. A better life." "A better life?" My voice came out barely above a whisper. "I designed every inch of that house. Every window, every doorway, every detail was carefully planned. It took me 5 years to save enough money to build it." Barry, my older brother, stepped forward with that smug businessman smile I'd grown to hate. "And now it's worth triple what you invested. The market's hot and we got an incredible offer." Dad agreed it was the smart move. I turned to our father, Winston, who sat quietly in his wheelchair by the window. His eyes met mine briefly before looking away. The guilt was written all over his face. "Dad, you signed off on this?" "Sonia, honey," he started, his voice weak. "They explained everything. The medical bills, my care. It made sense. I would have helped with the bills." I slammed the envelope down on the table. "You didn't have to sell my house." "Don't be dramatic." Mackenzie rolled her eyes. "It's just a house. Besides, we're family. We share everything. Remember?" I laughed bitterly. "Share? Like how you shared this decision with me? Or how about how you shared my architectural plans with potential buyers behind my back?" The room fell silent. Uncle Francisco, who had been lurking in the corner, finally spoke up. "Sonia, we all agreed this was the best surprise we could give you. Financial freedom for the whole family." "Surprise?" I spat the word out. "You call stealing my home a surprise?" "We didn't steal anything," Barry interjected. "Dad had power of attorney and stop." I held up my hand. "Just stop." I walked to my purse and pulled out a carefully wrapped package I'd brought for the party. It was meant to be a gift for the family, the blueprints for potential additions to my house that would have accommodated everyone. Now it would serve a different purpose. "Here's my surprise for you," I said, placing the box on the table. "Don't open it yet. Wait until you've moved into your new mansion." Trisha, my best friend who had been witnessing this whole scene in shocked silence, stepped forward. "Sonia, maybe we should go get some air." "No need," I said, gathering my things. "I'm leaving anyway. Apparently, I have to find a new place to live." "Don't be like that," Mackenzie called after me. "We're having dinner later to celebrate. We ordered your favorite Thai food." I turned at the door, taking in their faces one last time. Mackenzie's false concern, Barry's calculated indifference, Uncle Francisco's discomfort, and my father's quiet shame. "You know what the worst part is?" I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. "I designed that house with spaces for each of you, a ground floor suite for Dad, an office for Barry, a playroom for Mackenzie's kids. I was going to surprise you all next month once the additions were approved." The color drained from Mackenzie's face. Barry's smug smile faltered. Dad looked like he might cry. "Sonia?" He reached out, but I was already walking away. "Happy birthday to me," I muttered, stepping out into the cool evening air. Trisha followed me to my car. "What was in that package?" she asked quietly. I started the engine, a plan already forming in my mind. "Just some blueprints, but they're missing a few crucial details that only I know about." "Sonia," Trisha's voice held a warning. "Don't worry," I said, managing a small smile. "I'm not gonna do anything illegal. I'm just gonna teach them a lesson about karma and structural integrity." As I drove away from my father's house, I caught a glimpse of my family through the window, already huddled around the package I'd left behind. They had no idea what was coming. Sometimes the best revenge isn't served cold. It's built into the very foundation of things. Let them have their mansion. They'd soon learn that some things are worth more than money, and some betrayals come with architectural consequences. 3 days after my disastrous birthday party, I sat in Trisha's kitchen nursing my second cup of coffee and scrolling through apartment listings on my phone. Nothing felt right. How could it when I'd poured my soul into designing the perfect home? "You haven't told me what was really in those blueprints," Trisha said, sliding a plate of pancakes across the counter. "And don't give me that innocent look. I've known you since college." I set my phone down. "Remember that structural support beam in the East Wing? The one that makes the whole second floor possible?" "Yeah. Well, the blueprints I gave them don't show it, or rather, they show it in the wrong place." I took a bite of pancake. "If they build according to those plans, Sonia, Tricia nearly dropped her coffee. That's dangerous. Relax, I said, holding up my hand. The issues will show up long before anything catastrophic happens. Small cracks, settling problems, nothing life-threatening, but enough to make that house a nightmare to live in. My phone buzzed. Mackenzie calling for the 20th time. I declined it. You should answer eventually, Tricia said. They're probably worried about you. Worried about their investment, you mean? I stabbed another piece of pancake. Barry already left 3 messages about the paperwork needed for the renovation. As if on cue, my phone lit up with a text from Barry. Stop being childish. The contractors need the original plans. Call me. Delete, I muttered, swiping the message away. Tricia leaned against the counter. Have you talked to your dad at least? The question hit a sore spot. Dad had left several tearful voicemails, each one making my heart ache more than the last, but the betrayal still felt too raw. I can't, I said. Not yet. The doorbell rang, making us both jump. Tricia peeked through the window and grimaced. It's Mackenzie. Of course it is. I grabbed my coffee and headed for Tricia's back door. I'm not here, Sonia. Mackenzie's voice carried through the house. I know you're staying here. Please, we need to talk. I paused at the door, my hand on the handle. Let her in. Maybe it's time I say what needs to be said. Tricia opened the front door and Mackenzie burst in, looking frazzled in her designer workout gear. Finally. Do you know how many times I've tried to reach you? 67 calls, 28 texts, I said coldly. I counted. The contractor started work yesterday, she said, dropping her expensive handbag on Tricia's counter. But something's not right with the plans you gave us. Barry's furious. I took a slow sip of coffee. Is he now? This isn't a game, Sonia. We invested everything in this project. The kids are so excited about their new rooms, and Dad's already picked out furniture for his suite. Funny how you all made plans for my house without me. Mackenzie's face softened. I know you're hurt, but we did this for the family. Think about Dad's medical bills, about the kids' college funds. Stop. I set my cup down hard enough to make Tricia wince. You did this for yourself. Don't pretend it was about Dad or the kids. That's not fair. Fair? I laughed. You want to talk about fair? I watched you and Barry parade potential buyers through my home while I was at work. I saw the real estate listings you posted without my knowledge. Uncle Francisco told me everything. Mackenzie's face went pale. He what? He felt guilty. Called me the night before my birthday to warn me, but it was too late. The papers were already signed. We were going to tell you, she started. When? After you'd moved all my things out. After you'd torn down the walls I designed? Tricia quietly slipped out of the kitchen, giving us privacy. The plans you gave us, Mackenzie said, changing tactics. Barry says they're incomplete. We need the originals. I walked to the window looking out at Tricia's garden. Those are the originals. No. They're not. The contractor says there are inconsistencies. Then maybe you should have hired a better contractor. Or better yet, consulted the architect who designed the house in the first place. Mackenzie's voice turned pleading. Please, Sonia, we're family. Family doesn't steal from family, I said, turning back to face her. Family doesn't use power of attorney to force a sale. Family doesn't betray trust for profit. What do you want? She asked, desperation creeping into her voice. Name your price. I walked to the door and held it open. I want you to live with your choices, Mackenzie. All of them. You're making a mistake, she said, grabbing her bag. Barry won't let this go. Neither will I. I met her eyes. Tell Barry to enjoy the house. I'm sure it will be everything you deserve. After she left, Tricia came back in. You okay? I nodded, picking up my phone and finally opening my dad's messages. I will be. Sometimes you have to tear things down before you can rebuild them properly, including family relationships? Tricia asked softly. Especially those, I said, starting to type a message to my father. But this time I'm designing the foundation. A week later, I sat across from my father at his favorite diner, watching him stir his coffee with shaking hands. The morning light streaming through the windows made him look older, more fragile than I remembered. The house is coming along, he said quietly. Barry hired some fancy contractor from downtown. Did he? I focused on spreading jam on my toast, keeping my voice neutral. They opened your gift yesterday, Dad continued. The blueprints, they seem different from what I remember. I set down my knife. Different how? Barry and the contractor spent hours arguing about them. Something about support structures not matching the original foundation. He looked up at me. Honey, what did you do? Before I could answer, the diner's bell chimed. Uncle Francisco walked in, spotted us, and made his way to our booth. I thought I'd find you two here, he said, sliding in next to Dad. Barry's been calling me all morning demanding I talk some sense into you, Sonia. And what sense would that be? I asked, pushing my plate away. Francisco sighed. The contractor says the plans don't add up. They've already poured new foundations based on those blueprints, but something's not right. That's terrible, I said, taking a sip of coffee. Maybe they should have consulted the architect first. Sonia, Dad's voice cracked. Please, I know we hurt you. Hurt me? I leaned forward. Dad, you gave Barry power of attorney without telling me. You signed away my home. I thought he stumbled over the words. They said it was for the best, that we could all live together, take care of each other. Francisco cleared his throat. Barry can be very persuasive when he wants something. And Mackenzie, I asked, was she persuasive too when she brought potential buyers through my house while I was at work? Dad's face fell. She did what? Your children, I said, gesturing to include Francisco. Except for me, decided my house was their ticket to a better life. They just forgot to include me in the decision. The waitress appeared with more coffee. We sat in uncomfortable silence until she left. The contractor started noticing issues yesterday, Francisco said. Small things, but what? The foundation measurements don't align with the upper floor plans. The support calculations seem off. He pulled out his phone showing me photos. See these marks? The contractor says the stress points are all wrong. I glanced at the photos, fighting back a smile. Interesting, Sonia. Dad reached across the table for my hand. Whatever you're doing, please stop. They've invested everything in this renovation. Everything except respect, I said, but I squeezed his hand gently. Did you know I designed that house with all of you in mind? Every room had a purpose. Dad's eyes welled up. Barry mentioned something about that, about special rooms. A ground floor suite for you with wide doorways for your wheelchair and a private garden view. A playroom for Mackenzie's kids with built-in storage and a homework nook. Even an office for Barry with soundproof walls for his conference calls. I pulled my hand back. I was going to surprise you all. Francisco cursed under his breath. We really messed up, didn't we? My phone buzzed. Another text from Barry. The contractor's threatening to walk. Fix this now. You know what hurts the most? I showed them the message. Not once has anyone apologized. Not once has anyone acknowledged that what they did was wrong. It's all about fixing the problem, saving their investment. I'm sorry, Dad said, his voice barely a whisper. I should have talked to you first. Should have trusted you more. The simple apology hit me harder than I expected. I blinked back tears. The plans, Francisco said carefully, can they be corrected? They can. I nodded. But I have conditions. Anything, Dad said quickly. I want my house back. Not to live in. They can keep it. But I want my name on the architectural plans. I want recognition for my work. I straightened in my seat. And I want a formal apology from Barry and Mackenzie in writing. Francisco nodded slowly. That's fair. And one more thing, I added. No more decisions about my life without consulting me first. No more power of attorney surprises. Dad reached for my hand again. Done. I'll tell Barry myself. They won't like it, Francisco warned. They don't have to like it, I said, pulling out my tablet and opening the correct blueprints. But if they want this house to stand, they'll agree. As I showed them the proper plans, pointing out the crucial differences, I felt something shift inside me. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about standing up for myself, about rebuilding trust brick by brick. You're a lot like your mother, Francisco said softly. She never let anyone push her around either. I smiled, remembering Mom's fierce independence. No, she didn't, and neither will I. The first cracks appeared 3 weeks after construction began. I knew because Mackenzie couldn't help but document everything on social media, including her growing concerns about the mysterious issues with their dream home renovation. Look at this, Tricia said, showing me Mackenzie's latest post while we walked through the park. The marble countertops they installed yesterday are already showing hairline fractures. I glanced at the photo. That's because the floor isn't properly supported. The weight distribution is all wrong. You're enjoying this way too much. Tricia laughed. Maybe a little. I stopped to sit on a bench, but they still haven't apologized. Barry sent his lawyer instead. What did the lawyer say? That they'd consider my demands if I provided the correct plans immediately. I pulled out my phone showing her the email. They're trying to strong-arm me again. My phone rang. It was Uncle Francisco. I put it on speaker. Sonia, you need to come see this, he said without preamble. The house. It's making noises. Noises? I shared a look with Tricia. Creaking? Groaning. The contractor says it's normal for new construction. But Barry's freaking out. He's here now yelling at everyone. I could hear the commotion in the background. Barry's voice rising above others. I don't care what it costs. Fix it. On my way, I said, already standing. 20 minutes later, Tricia and I pulled up to my former home. The construction site was chaos. Workers arguing with Barry, Mackenzie pacing on the front lawn, and Dad watching everything from his wheelchair on the porch. Finally, Barry stormed over as I got out of the car. Fix this mess you created. Hello to you too, brother, I said calmly. Having some problems? A loud crack echoed from inside the house, making everyone freeze. One of the workers came running out. Mr. Barry, the master bedroom floor. It's separating from the wall. Mackenzie let out a small scream. Our bedroom. All my designer furniture is in there. I walked toward the house, Barry and Mackenzie trailing behind me. Inside, the damage was exactly what I'd expected. The improper support structure was causing the second floor to slowly pull away from the main frame. This is your fault. Barry grabbed my arm. You gave us faulty plans on purpose. I yanked my arm free. I gave you exactly what you deserved. You stole my house, remember? We paid market value. It wasn't for sale, I shouted, finally losing my cool. This was my home, my design, my life's work. Another cracking sound made Mackenzie jump. Please, Sonia, we'll lose everything if this house fails inspection. You should have thought of that before you went behind my back. I turned to leave, but Dad's voice stopped me. Sonia? He called from the doorway. Show them. I looked at him confused. Show them what this house was meant to be. He continued. Show them your original vision. I pulled out my tablet, hesitating for a moment before opening the original plans. This is what I designed, I said, turning the screen toward them. See these support beams? They're meant to create an open concept space while maintaining structural integrity. And these walls, they're load-bearing, designed to distribute weight evenly across the foundation. Barry leaned in, his anger giving way to genuine interest. The office? It has a private entrance and soundproof walls. I nodded. For your conference calls. Mackenzie pointed to another section. Is that a children's wing? With a homework nook, art station, and built-in storage for toys. I knew how much your kids love to spread out when they play. Tears formed in Mackenzie's eyes. You thought of everything. I did. I closed the tablet because this wasn't just a house to me. It was our family's future. Another ominous crack echoed through the house. A worker ran in, panic on his face. Everyone out. The structure's becoming unstable. We hurried outside, watching as small fissures appeared along the exterior walls. Dad wheeled himself next to me. Can it be fixed? He asked quietly. Yes, I said, but they'll need to tear down most of the new construction and start over with the correct plans this time. Barry ran his hands through his hair, looking defeated. How much? The plans? I turned to face him. They're not for sale. Then what do you want? What I asked for before. My name on the architectural plans, recognition for my work, and a formal apology from both of you in writing. Mackenzie stepped forward. And then you'll help us fix this? Then I'll help you build the house I always meant to create. The one that would bring our family together, not tear it apart. Barry and Mackenzie exchanged looks. Finally, Barry nodded. Deal, he said, extending his hand. And I'm sorry, Sonia. We should have never gone behind your back. I shook his hand, feeling the first real step toward reconciliation. Apology accepted. Now let's talk about proper structural support. The structural engineer, Colton, walked through the partially demolished house, shaking his head and making notes on his tablet. I followed behind him, watching Barry and Mackenzie's faces grow increasingly pale with each disapproving click of his tongue. This is worse than I initially thought, Colton said, stopping in what used to be the living room. The foundation work you did based on those incomplete plans, it's compromised the entire structure. How bad is it? Barry asked, his usual confidence nowhere to be seen. Colton pointed to the ceiling. See those stress fractures? They're spreading because the load-bearing walls aren't properly aligned with the support beams. And the second floor? He paused, looking at his calculations. It's a miracle it hasn't collapsed yet. Mackenzie grabbed my arm. You wouldn't have really let it collapse, would you? Of course not, I said, pulling free. That's why I made sure the problem showed up early before anyone could get hurt. Clever. Colton nodded, studying my original plans. You deliberately misaligned the support structures just enough to cause visible issues without catastrophic failure. Professionally speaking, that's quite impressive. Barry paced the room, dust rising with each step. So, what's the damage? How much to fix it? Well, Colton swiped through his tablet. You'll need to tear down about 70% of the new construction. The foundation needs significant reinforcement, and the entire second floor has to be rebuilt from scratch. Cost? Barry pressed? Given current material prices and labor. Colton did some quick calculations around $800,000. What? Mackenzie's voice rose to a shriek. That's more than we made selling the house in the first place. I stepped forward, opening my own tablet. Not if we do it right this time. Look at these alternative materials I've sourced. They're just as good but more cost-effective, and I know some contractors who owe me favors. You do that? Barry asked, surprise evident in his voice. Help us save money after everything? I'm not doing it for you, I said firmly. I'm doing it for Dad and for the house itself. It deserves to be built properly. A loud thump from upstairs made everyone jump. One of the workers called down. Another support beam just shifted. Everyone out. Colton ordered, "This structure isn't safe until we start the repairs." Outside, we found Dad talking with Uncle Francisco on the front lawn. They were looking at old family photos on Francisco's phone. "Remember this one?" Francisco held up the phone. "Sonia's graduation from architecture school. She was already sketching plans for this house back then." Dad smiled. "She used to draw house plans on napkins at dinner, always said she'd build something special for the family." "I did build something special," I said, joining them. "You just couldn't see it." Colton approached with his final report. "Mrs. Mackenzie, Mr. Barry, I need your signatures on these demolition approvals. We should begin as soon as possible." As they signed the papers, I noticed Mackenzie's hands shaking. "What about my furniture?" she asked quietly. "All those custom pieces. We'll store them in my warehouse," I offered, free of charge. She looked at me, tears in her eyes. "Why are you being nice to us? We don't deserve it." "Because that's what family does," I said. "We help each other. We just need to do it the right way this time." Barry finished signing and turned to me. "I had my assistant draft the formal apology you wanted. It's being notarized today." "Good." I nodded. "And my name on the plans?" "Already done."